All right, it's the Android Headline Show. This is episode 58. We are broadcasting live Tuesday. What's today? May 6th. My name's Jeremiah. I'm joined by Alex from the site tonight. You want to say what's up, man?
What's up, everyone?
So, Nick is out tonight. Last week I was out because I was traveling for my day job. Um, this week, Nick's got some family stuff. I think family in town. So he's sitting this one out. We'll hold down the fort without him. But got a lot to talk about. I know we touched on Android Silver last week when the rumors first started flying, but I want to kind of delve into that a little bit more. There's a few more sources have come out to kind of corroborate that story. Um, T-Mobile and HTC announced their first quarter earnings, and things are looking up for both companies, which is nice to see. The HTC One M8 is coming in some new colors. The LG G3 is leaking all over the place too, ahead of that announcement. So we've got a lot to talk about. Google Maps got a big update. Google Play All Access, Google Music All Access is available in Canada now. So, but Android Silver. So we heard about Android Silver last week, that it might be replacing the Nexus program. Um, and just a little bit of details on it, but over the course of the week, it's actually been, like I said, the story's been corroborated by a couple more sources. So it's looking like this is pretty legit. And a lot of people are kind of freaking out about it. Oh no, don't get rid of the Nexus program. Don't get rid of the Nexus program. But Android Silver just sounds like the next iteration. To me, it just sounds like the next iteration of the Nexus program. It sounds so. What we're hearing about Android Silver is that it's going to replace the Nexus line of devices with a focus on premium, high-end devices. These could be devices from any manufacturer. It could be devices that are specifically made for Android Silver. It could also be something like the current GPE devices that we are, that we have available now on the Play Store. The Android Silver, Google is going to make a big push to have these sold in retail stores, is what we're hearing, and they're going to have their own, their own kiosk, their own kind of corner of the store. So when you walk into a Best Buy, or your whatever wireless carrier happens to support Android Silver devices, they're going to have their own section specifically for these high-end Android devices. Android Silver, whether it's phones or tablets or whatever, are going to be running stock Android or something very similar to it. So again, it just sounds like the Nexus program, with Google kind of putting an emphasis on premium devices, which we'll talk about this in a little bit, kind of might tie into some of the Prime devices that we're seeing leaked. I'll let Alex talk about that because that's kind of a theory of his, which I like. But no need. I don't really think there's a need to freak out. Android Silver just sounds like a new name on the next step in the Nexus program. So, what do you think, Alex?
It just sounds like the Nexus program has steroids to me, but I don't think Android Silver is going to be the actual name. I think that's like the internal name. So we'll probably see something about it at I/O, especially with all this like Galaxy S5 Prime, HTC One M8 Prime stuff coming out. I'm starting to think that those two are Android Silver devices because you really don't hear a device from two manufacturers having the same name in there, which in this case would be Prime, unless they're working on something together. And the specs match up to like the LG G3 specs that are being leaked out as well. 2560 by 1440 display, 3 gigs of RAM, Snapdragon 805, all just the highest of high end basically. I guess we'll see if my theory is right in a few months, probably at I/O, maybe a little bit later, because last year there wasn't a whole lot of Android stuff at I/O, so I don't know if it's going to be the same way this year or not. they might do another event like a month later, like they did for 4.3 last year. I think it's a good thing.
And I really like that theory because when I first heard about these Prime devices, it just sounded kind of odd to me that these developers, these manufacturers, were working on similarly spec'd devices with a similar name, or even if it's not what they're called when they're launched, it's a working name, you know?
Yeah.
HTC the One Prime and the Galaxy S5 Prime. It just sounded kind of odd. So if these are Android Silver devices, or even if they're GPE devices, that's the other thing with Android Silver is I would expect that we're going to see Google merge the Nexus program with GPE devices and just give it one title, so it's not confusing for consumers. The focus really has been for the last couple of years, but Google has really kind of turned up the heat on trying to get Android devices into, and the stock Google experience specifically, into consumers' hands. You know, they're working with Samsung to tone down TouchWiz and some of the extra apps that just double up on Google Apps. It's not a good experience for users. HTC's come a long way with Sense, but it's still not stock Android. It's not what Google envisions for Android, and that's what Android Silver is going to present. With GPE devices, you can get that now, but again, it's not in consumers' faces when they walk in a store. You got to go to the Play Store to get that, and the average user is not going to do that. So,
what was interesting about the one Prime specs that we got this morning? It looks like they're going away from the ultra pixel camera on that one because I believe it's set at 18 megapixel camera, along with Snapdragon 805 and all the other high-end specs. So I don't know if that's Google saying we don't want that in Android Silver or what it is.
I think that HTC had the M8 in the pipeline. You know, when the M7 came out, they were already starting to work on the M8, and they had that already committed to stick to that camera. And when the M7 camera flopped like it did, they did a good job getting the M8 camera usable, but it's not what they expected. So I think that they now, with their next devices, the new stuff that's coming down the pipeline, we're going to see them move away from that.
Because the Butterfly that's over in Japan, maybe a couple other countries over there, but that one has just a regular camera. I think the one that came out last year was like a 8 or 13 megapixel one. Then the one that's supposed to be coming out pretty soon, I think, is like 13 or 16 megapixels. So I don't know really why they did ultra pixel last year and this year. I don't know if it's cost or what. I think it would cost more since it's specially made sensor for them.
Yeah, they'd be able to cut costs more if they would stick with a more readily available sensor and just tweak the hardware, tweak the software rather, to make it work.
Yeah, because with like normal consumers, if they see that it's a 4 megapixel camera, they're not gonna want it, no matter how good the pictures actually are. All they see is 4 megapixels, and they're like, "Well, the S5 has a 16 megapixel camera. Why would I want this?"
Even though the S5 camera is not that good.
Yeah, some people think it's awesome, some people don't.
Yep. But yeah, that's we'll be keeping tabs on this, on these Prime devices and Android Silver. Even the G3. You know, we saw the G3 leak out all over the place this week. Just today, we saw the removable back and battery and the metal, like the brushed metal finish on the back, which is probably just a Korean version of the device. The G2 in Korea had a removable back and battery also. So that's probably what that is. But it was nice to see that kind of higher end brushed aluminum back. We saw the phone leak in black and white. EVLeaks leaked those. And some more rumors, we heard this a while ago, but some more rumors about there being 2 variants of the G3. Maybe one with 3 gigs of RAM and one with only 2 gigs of RAM. and one with a higher display and one with a lower display resolution. Um, but the G3 might just be rolled right over into, because the specs are similar as to some of the rumors we're hearing about these Prime devices. Alex, you were saying earlier, might just be LG's Prime device.
Yeah, because looking at the main specs, the processor, the RAM, the screen, all that stuff, it's the same as the M8 Prime and the S5 Prime that, well, from what we've seen leaked. Of course, none of this is confirmed yet. The LG will learn on the 27th, so we'll probably learn that before the other two. But I think they're gonna do like what Oppo did, do a cheaper 2 gigs of RAM, 1080p display version, and then do a 3 gigs of RAM and 2560 by 1440 display.
Yep.
It's just gonna, I don't know which one is gonna be available here though, because I don't see the carriers carrying both of them.
No, probably not. If there's, because you're also, we've got the G Pro 2 in there.
If it ever comes.
Right. If it comes to the States, that'll also be in the mix. Maybe it won't. Maybe they'll just have a high-end and low-end G3, but...
well, I don't know if I would really call that a low-end.
Right. The higher spec and the slightly lower spec. Because I'll be honest with you, 2 gigs of RAM and a 1080p screen, for me, is perfectly fine. I'm sure that that won't be an issue.
With the 2 gigs of RAM and the 1080p display, I mean, it's what the G2 has now, so like the biggest upgrade would probably be the processor to a... Well, I'd assume they'd still put an 805 in that one, since they're going to need to put it in the higher spec one.
Yeah.
But other than that, all the upgrades are pretty much going to be the camera and software.
Yep, and maybe they tone down their software a little bit too.
We saw some
camera gimmicks
about the software, and it looks a lot like TouchWiz and iOS 7 together.
Yes. Yeah, we did see those leaked screenshots, and that's exactly what it looked like. My first thought was iOS 7, and then when you look at it a little bit more, there's a little bit of TouchWiz in there too.
They brought back that bluish green color that I hated so much. Well, it's a little bit different shade now, but I still don't really like it.
Yep.
I'll probably get used to it, because I did with the G2.
Yep. And who knows, maybe with Samsung toning down TouchWiz, LG will kind of relax a little bit too, but...
Well, theirs isn't really that bad. Like, the biggest issue with TouchWiz is the performance, and LG's is pretty lightweight, actually.
And that's the thing with LG's, because it's so much more lightweight, it's just aesthetics. Whether or not you like the way it looks, it doesn't slow the device down at all. Their software's always been tweaking really fast.
Using the G2 side by side, like the M8, I was seeing that the performance was almost identical between the two. Now, next to the S5, that's another story. But next to the M8, it's pretty much identical. And I know the 801 isn't a huge bump compared to the 800. But the Sense 6.0 is supposed to be like super minimal and everything. Yep. So that shows you how lightweight LG skin is.
On last year's phone, it's hanging with this year's flagships. So.
Yep.
And the G2 really was an underrated phone, so I'm
It was so underrated. Yep. I even underrated it. So.
And LG's coming on strong this year. So is HTC. They reported their Q1 results for 2014, and so far they're still in the red. They reported an operating loss, but it's trending up, and they're thinking that moving into the second quarter, they're going to start making money again.
I sure hope so.
Yeah. I mean, they can only operate at a loss for so many quarters before they're in big trouble. But
BlackBerry did it for what, like 5 years?
Yeah.
But they also had a big bank account from all those years that they're number one. HTC has been around that long.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a few other devices coming, but I think where the big money is going to be for them is their mid-range devices, the Desire, 816, and I think they have a 616 as well, and a 300 something. I forget what the numbers are, but those are selling really well over in China. The 816, I think, got like they sold like 1 million in like 3 days, or no, pre-orders were 1 million in like 3 days. But that's better than nothing. I mean, last year they didn't even put out any of those.
And they've stated that they're going to focus on that mid-range market quite a bit, which is good. I mean, get a foothold in there, build a good foundation. The M8 is already selling better than the M7, and some of this trend upwards in the first quarter is from the M8 sales, and the Desire 816 overseas. But we saw this happen last year with the M7. The quarter right after, the month or 60 days or so right after the device was announced, sales peaked and then kind of fell off. So we'll see that happen a little bit with the M8. But if they can get in good in that mid-range market, whether it's overseas or here in the States, but in this case it's overseas, they can build something. They can lay the foundation for something they can build on if they've got that revenue coming in. T-Mobile also did really well in the first quarter, and I was really excited to see this. I was one of the numbers that switched from another carrier to T-Mobile. They reported 2.4 million customers switched in the first quarter. Total, after they worked out of the numbers, they said it was over 2 million net additions. So after you factor in all the people that left T-Mobile, they still added over 2 million subscribers. Let's see.
Nearly 500,000 of that was prepaid, while obviously the rest was postpaid, which is still pretty big considering how many the other carriers are putting in as prepaid nowadays. I think they're like under 100,000 a quarter, and they did like 465,000.
And companies want, but it's still great that they added more than 1.5 million postpaid subscribers. Companies want postpaid subscribers.
Oh yeah.
There's money in prepaid too, but if you're
there's more in postpaid.
Yep, because you're less likely to leave the company, less likely to churn.
Yep.
So
there's only like a couple of bad things I saw with the earnings when they put them up, I think last week, is that the average revenue per person has gone down again. It's down to 50.01. And that's like a 1.4% decline, which is last quarter was 2.9%. And they got to turn that around because they put up a loss of 151 million for that quarter, and I believe 100 million of that were from ETFs. But what was surprising to me is how Sprint and T-Mobile both lost 151 million. I don't know how they both lost the exact same amount. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. And you're right. They are losing money still. Most of that's coming from having to buy out ETFs. This is kind of more of a long-term game.
Yep.
And I don't think I put this in the show notes, but Sprint and SoftBank are looking to buy. The rumor is buy T-Mobile and have John Ledger run the company. So this might just be a play. This whole thing might have been a play by T-Mobile just to get purchased.
What I've seen a couple people say is from all the customers that they're adding and how their ARPU is going down is basically they're adding a lot more customers without increasing the value of the company. So SoftBank doesn't really have to pay more to buy them, but they'll gain a whole lot more customers.
Right.
Now, that could be true. It sounds very likely, but that's still a huge turnover for T-Mobile. But this time last year they were losing close to 1 million customers per quarter.
Yeah.
And now this is like their fourth straight quarter where they've hit, or almost 1 million. I know this is their fourth straight quarter where they've added. But basically they added more than all three carriers combined in that quarter, which is pretty amazing considering they're the smallest.
And they're also investing pretty heavily in their network.
Yep.
Building out coverage and increasing data speeds and getting LTE rolled out
If they
everywhere that
just
they have a footprint.
they just finalized that 700 megahertz agreement with Verizon too, and that'll be rolling out I think the end of this year or close to the end, which is going to be a big deal. And then if Sprint buys them, they're going to have 700 and 800 megahertz network, which is
Yep.
going to be good for building penetration.
Yep. So things are definitely looking good for T-Mobile, which I'm excited about. They've brought some really good changes to kind of a stagnant industry, and they've shaken up the carrier subsidy contract model here in the U.S., which I am a big fan of. Need to get rid of that. So I'm glad that they can come in and shake that up. And then the other announcement, another big announcement this week, was some new Chrome OS and Chromebook stuff. So Google announced, was it last night?
It was this morning.
Early
or
this morning.
This afternoon, actually.
Was it? Okay. For some reason I was thinking it was last night.
Yeah, it started at like 1 o'clock.
Okay. I guess the stuff started leaking though.
Well, Lenovo announced theirs at like midnight last night.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I knew there was some Chrome OS stuff announced last night. But Google announced a whole bunch of new Chromebooks from like 6 different manufacturers: Toshiba, LG, Lenovo, HP, Dell, and Asus.
And Acer.
Yeah, Acer's in there too. Samsung was not.
Yep, they're sticking with Exynos.
Yep. So these are all new Intel Bay Trail Chromebooks. So they're built on this new Intel architecture that's supposed to get like 11 hours of battery life. The heat issues, they're not going to get. We saw some, even with the charging on the HP, some of the heat issues. And so it's going to be a big improvement over these Haswell processors that have been in Chromebooks.
Yeah, and I really like the Haswell processors, especially in the C720, because the battery life was just amazing. I mean, they rated it at like 7 to 8 hours, and I was getting like 9, 10 hours out of it. And now that they're rating it at 11 for Bay Trail, I'll probably get like 12 or 13 out of it, which is pretty much all day long.
Yeah, which is huge, man. That's it's a big deal.
And what they did say is that it's not replacing Haswell, so we're gonna see some Haswell and Bay Trail Chromebooks coming out this year. So you're gonna see both of them, which I mean they're both pretty good. Dell, Lenovo, and I know Acer. I think there's another one, but they all are like they're replacing their current Chromebooks or adding onto it with a Core i3, Intel Core i3 processor in there, so it's gonna be more powerful.
Yep.
Acer announced theirs last week, but I think it's going on sale next month. I forget when exactly. Lenovo announced a couple Chromebooks that are going to be available to everyone instead of just education. The N20 and N20P, which is basically a non-touch and a touchscreen version. 11.6 inch 1366 by 768 display. I mean, I was hoping for more HD displays, like at least a 1920 by 1080 or 1200.
Yeah, which we didn't see, and some of that you're trading off battery life. Yeah, with those Core i3 Chromebooks, and I think it was Asus announced a Core i3 Intel Core i3 Chrome box too. A couple of these companies announced some new Chrome boxes, but you're with these Chromebooks trying to keep the battery life down. Those i3 processors, the battery life's not going to be as good anyway. So.
Well, it's interesting though during their their press conference with Intel is that they showed the difference in like speed and everything between an Intel-based Chromebook and an ARM-based one. It was just sad.
Oh, I'm sure, man.
I had the first ARM-based Samsung Chromebook, the Exynos 5 dual-core one,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't pretty. and that's why I didn't buy another Chromebook. But after I reviewed a couple of Acer's ones, I've come back around to like them again.
Yep. They're not going to have any fans in them, so they're going to be quieter too, because they're not going to have to deal with the heat issues. Looking to see if there's any other details about them. Specifically, it was the battery life and being fanless.
The Asus C200 was official today. I mean, it's basically what we already knew because it was leaking out all over the place.
Yeah.
Most of them are 11.6-inch displays, which I was hoping for a few more 13-inch ones because to me 11 is a little bit too small.
Yeah, just a little bit too small.
The LG Chrome base, which they announced at CES, I believe it was, that one popped up on Amazon. It's going to be available 25th of May, I think. It's later this month for like $350, I believe.
Good deal.
And it's interesting seeing LG in there because they don't really make laptops or computers or mobile and TVs.
Right, right. I'm also pretty excited about touchscreen. These touchscreen laptops taking off.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, man, I hate using a trackpad. I always, even on a laptop, I'll get a wireless mouse. I will take the time to dig out a wireless mouse from the bottom of my backpack when I'm carrying my laptop around, rather than use the trackpad. I just hate it. But if you've got a touchscreen device, you just use the screen and the keyboard. You don't really need the mouse. So it's great.
When I was using the Pixel last year, I always forgot that it was a touchscreen until I'm like wiping stuff off the screen and it's moving. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a touchscreen.
Yep.
I'm just not used to it. That was the first laptop or Chromebook I ever used that was a touchscreen. Same thing with the C720p. That one I kept forgetting was a touchscreen too.
I never realized how much I liked having a touchscreen device with a keyboard until I started a new job. They gave me an iPad and it's got a Bluetooth keyboard. I picked up a Bluetooth keyboard for it because I'll be carrying that one instead of a laptop. But I like that combination, keyboard and touchscreen.
Yep.
And like I said, I hate a trackpad. So.
Yeah, I hate trackpads too.
Unless you're using a MacBook, then you're okay. But
yeah, that's the only trackpad I would use. The Chrome OS or Chromebooks, their trackpads are pretty close to Apple's, but it's not quite there. I'll prefer that over a PC though, because it's a lot more responsive.
Yeah. And it's just consistent.
Yep.
Even on newer Windows hardware, it might work well, 2-finger, 3-finger gestures, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it just kind of acts finicky. It's weird. So I'm all for. I think the keyboards also, but in particular the mouse is just an outdated input device. So we just need to put touch screens and everything and get rid of the mouse pointer completely.
Yeah, it'll save room. Opinion. It'll save room too.
Yeah, it will. Yes, it will.
I don't know if it'll save money in manufacturing them, but it'll save room.
Put a bigger battery in there. Put a bigger battery in there.
Yeah.
There's always need for a larger battery at this point. But yeah, that's exciting. The LG's Chrome base too is now on Amazon. We saw that back a couple months ago. It looks like an iMac, but it's a Chrome OS. Screen. So it's only $350. LG makes it, and I think it comes with the keyboard and mouse too.
Yep, it does.
For that $350.
Same thing with the Asus's Chrome boxes, the 179 and 399 one. They both come with mouse and keyboard, but no monitor.
Wireless or wired?
I have no idea.
Because I'm seriously thinking about picking up a Chrome box to replace my Google TV. I can't. The newer Google TVs the browsers don't support Flash, and the only thing I use my Google TV for is to stream sports. So yeah. I'm still using a Hisense Pulse, which is super slow and just it's frustrating to use. I don't need it for Netflix or Hulu Plus or anything else because I've got all that on my Chromecast. So a Chrome box would be a good alternative. The other option is to build some kind of media center that has a browser, or just a basic Linux box. But if I can get a Chrome box for $200.
From the pictures on Amazon, it looks like it's a wireless one. Well, they have a wireless one. The desktop bundle with wireless keyboard and mouse. I'm not sure if this is the i3 one or the. Okay, this is the i3. So $12 more, you can get wireless keyboard and mouse. Not bad.
No, that's less than what a keyboard
A lot less.
mouse combo will cost you. You usually looking at $40-$50 for that. So that's a good deal.
I don't know how good they're gonna be, but it's better than spending $50 out of the box.
And those should be compatible with pretty much any Bluetooth keyboard you pick up, so that's not a big deal. But
yeah, these are ASUS branded, so.
If anybody out there has replaced their Google TV with a Chromebox or some other solution, as the Google TV platform is kind of stagnated. Is that a word? Stagnated? Become stagnant? Yeah. If you've done something like that, let me know. Drop me a line. Shoot me an email or something, because I'm kind of in the market for an alternative there, and I just don't want to spend the money to do a whole deal. So let me get. Oh, here we go. I think Chris is jumping on with us. Excellent. Let me get him an invite so he can jump on and talk to us. Excellent. We haven't had Chris on in a while, man. That'll be good. That'll be good. But that Chromebase is up on Amazon if you want to go check it out.
I just wish it was a bigger one. It's only 22 inches.
Right. Which is, I would like to see at least a 24-inch.
Yeah, my monitor the monitor I use every day is a 24-inch, so it would be difficult to use the Chromebook 22.
Right. Yeah, just getting smaller. Chris, hey, what's up, man?
How you doing, guys?
What's up?
Good. How are you tonight?
Doing pretty good. I just thought I would join in and see. It's been a long time since I hopped on the podcast with you guys, and I see Nick was MIA this week, so I figured you could use an extra mouth around.
Yeah, man.
He just wants to show off that Note Pro 12.2.
I do. Here, let's get it out of the way.
You got that in your hands, man? Yeah,
I won't have to talk about it later. Thing's massive. It's pretty good. But one of the problems with having a tablet this big is, obviously the size, but I think if they would have maybe removed the bezels on it, it wouldn't make it feel as big, because handling it seemed like it's just a tad too big, and I think if you cut off these bezels, it would feel like a 10-inch tablet and would be perfect. But it's got lots of power, really nice, display on it. The battery life is actually surprisingly good considering how big of a screen you're using here. There's not a whole lot of lag on there. I know some people complained about lags on these Notes, and it's not a problem. It's got that nice leather back for some of you that like that, and of course the S Pen. And you know what? Honestly, I was kind of surprised. I didn't think it would be as smooth as it is, but it's a lot of fun. You definitely notice the screen difference. If you're coming from a 7-inch, this is like going to a 70-inch TV. You're going to notice it right off the bat. If you're coming from a 10-inch, it's not too. There's still a lot of difference from my Nexus 10 to this. I noticed the difference. The other thing is that you got to be prepared for is obviously it's a pretty big device. The weight, it does feel pretty heavy, but you got to realize that's 12 inches. If they could have made it a little bit lighter and thinned those bezels out, this thing would be a daily driver for me. It's a great device. Can't go wrong with it though. It's I think it's more for people who are gonna put it on their laps and watch movies and games and stuff like that. But if you plan on being portable with this thing, it's pretty big. It's like riding around with a encyclopedia. But it's been fun to play with. I got to. I've been doing the Galaxy S5 test as well too, testing it out, seeing how I like it. Which the Galaxy S5, it's not too bad. The fingerprint reader is not, I don't know if you guys can really see it. It's kind of blurred out there, but the fingerprint reader is not my favorite. It doesn't tend to pick up your fingerprint as well as I would like it to. So I'm having issues here.
It also makes unlocking it more difficult because you have to use two hands. You can't just use one hand and unlock it.
You really have to actually try to unlock it, which maybe is a good thing. I don't know, but I figured it would be a lot simpler technology. I figured it would pick up your fingerprint a lot more, but you got to swipe down on it, and usually it doesn't get it on the first try. Maybe I'm just a retard and it doesn't work as good as it should for me, and there's probably guys out there with Galaxy S5s that like one touch swipe, barely touch the screen, and it unlocks for them. But for me, it's usually 3-4 times before I can get the screen to unlock. That it could just be my fat fingers and burnt tips of my hand or something like that from some bad party gone wrong when I was young. But otherwise, I do like the device. I think it's a pretty good device. The camera works pretty good. The back thing that everyone kind of complained about. You can't really see super well here. Maybe get some more light on it. It's not in person. It's not as I'll just say it. It's not as ugly as I thought it would be. I wasn't expecting myself to like the design, but it's a lot more less subtle when you see it in person. And I think Alex would agree with that. It's not as bad as it looks in pictures.
I like it better than the S4's back because it's not so slippery and it just doesn't look so disgusting with all the fingerprints because it doesn't really pick up fingerprints. At least mine doesn't.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't do the fingerprints. It's got that sealed compartment here.
I hate that
because it's water. Exactly, it's a real pain to open to get charged. It's like you got to grow some nails. You got to grow nails if you want to be charging your phone. Which I kind of found that was a pain. It's not simple to get in. I mean, obviously they're trying to seal the phone, but at the same time it's just not as super easy to get into. I do like and I know I'll catch some flack for this, but I do like the modified TouchWiz. I think it's visually a lot more appealing, and I think it's a little bit better laid out. It's not 100% there, but at least they're working on it. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, it definitely is an improvement.
Yeah, it's gotten better, even compared to the Tab Pro 10.1 that I just finished reviewing a few weeks ago. It's even a bit different from that, and that was different from the Note 3. But, I mean, it's still TouchWiz.
At the end of the day, it's still TouchWiz.
I mean, I won't say it's my favorite, but it's not the one I hate. Well, I don't hate it anymore, but it's still not one I'd prefer over like Sony or HTC or even stock Android.
I agree. I'm actually not a fan myself of Sense. I don't like Sense. I've never liked Sense. I don't know what it is. I think it's just, personally, I think it's kind of plain, their UI and their icons. I don't know. They never really appealed to me. And
that's what icon packs are for.
Yeah, I definitely something I would. I would have to say obviously stock Android and probably LG and the Sony. It's been really a long time since I've had a Sony for a long time, so I can't go and can't say that
Sony's
Sony's bad. No, they have some really nice looking UI.
Sony's is really nice. It's nice looking and pretty minimal. Their camera app is pretty good too. It's right up there with how easy HTC's is to use. Because Samsung's, especially like on the Note 3, it's pretty confusing because there's so much stuff everywhere.
What about you, Jeremiah? What's your favorite?
Stock, for sure. The new version of the Sense is not that bad. On the M8, it's come a long way. TouchWiz still falls in last for me. And I'm a lot like you, Chris. I don't have a lot of experience with the current versions of Sony's. Skin
what about
there.
LG? What about LG? Have you played with it much?
I like LG's in function, not so much in aesthetics.
Yeah, I think the new version, they're gonna make it look a little nicer.
Yeah, it kind of fell into the same boat with TouchWiz, just in the way it looked. It was just too cluttered. There's too much going on. Unlike TouchWiz, Alex and I were talking about this earlier. It's fast. It's always been fast. You know, LG's done a really good job of keeping things feeling snappy. So they've got that going for them.
I think in the new G3 we're going to be surprised because it looks like got some flat UI icons coming, a little more color added in there, a little more organization, and it wasn't that bad on definitely on the Flex, which I have to say is probably one of the most underrated phones of the year. One that doesn't get talked about much, but it was a killer device. It was pretty smooth, the UI on there, and the customizations. It really worked really well.
The one thing I hope they change from the UI is like that gradient status bar that's in the like not in the home screen but in apps and stuff, because that's the one thing that I don't like about it. Everything else I can live with.
The one thing I'll tell you about LG is I think they actually listen.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you that because they're
Look at the G3.
Yeah, a lot of their gripes have been actually like rectified. The notification tray, that was a huge one, and while it isn't 100% fixed, you can see that they're actually working on it. So they're listening, and I think it's a matter of time they'll have a a really nice complete UI out there.
Yep. And we had some pretty good app updates this week too. Just today, Google Maps was updated and this is a pretty big update too. New offline management, transit walk times, the turn-by-turn navigation shows distance and arrival time, and gives you quicker access to alternate routes if you need them.
There's also lane something in there too. I forget.
Yeah, I'm looking at.
They integrated
lane guidance or something. They call it, right?
They also integrated Uber into it,
which is a big deal. So you can call an Uber car right from your map now.
Is Google buying Uber next? You're gonna have Google cabs.
Maybe they'll all be robot cars.
Yeah.
Self-driving.
That's right. Uber drivers are not going to like this because that means they're going to be replaced by Google cars, driverless cars.
Well, Uber drivers are already ticking off like the regular cab and public transit, like private public transit companies are being squeezed out by Uber. So, robots taking over that would be just the next step, I guess. But yeah, it's a pretty big update, which we normally don't cover a whole ton of app updates, but this is a big one.
Don't forget the Google Music in Canada.
Yes, as a former Canadian, I'm sure that when you go home now, you're excited you can access your
Very exciting.
Google Music All Access.
It's crazy that they had to wait that long to get it. But I'll tell you the reason why it did take so long. It actually had to do with obviously money and music rights, and the shareholders of those rights, and they had to negotiate with the record companies up there because they're separate entities versus the U.S. and that's why you don't see Google Music in every country out there, is because just dealing with all the different record companies and so on like that, it can be quite daunting of a task, and that was one of the major issues. Plus, as well, there's some law issues as well too. There's different copyright stuff like that, so it's not as easy and cut and dry. But they definitely had more than their fair share of time to get that music up there. That's crazy.
Even the UK got it before them.
Yep. And it's taken some time with other streaming services to get it up in Canada also.
Yeah.
But All Access kind of took its sweet time. So
they're there now though, so can't complain. They should be all happy. They now have a better solution than iTunes and other sources. So.
Yep.
It was worth the wait.
And just an FYI, they have Netflix up there, but it's not as good quality as the Netflix down here. So Canadians really get shortchanged in the content area compared to the USA. Same with Hulu and stuff like that. There's all these distribution rights and stuff like that, royalties, stuff that always logjam the stuff. Another topic though.
Yeah, no, I heard that though, that the Netflix catalog, not just in Canada but in the UK, and the Netflix catalog is completely different.
Yeah, there's
depending on the country.
There's a Google Chrome extension that can let you watch like UK Netflix over here and stuff.
Yep,
Right.
yep.
I've used it a few times because there's some stuff over like in the UK Netflix Canada that's not over here that I want to watch.
Yeah, there's I think it's because of the proxies you can, like for me, I watch a lot of hockey, and some of my favorite teams back in Canada I can't see because of obviously I'm not in the right area, and try to watch them on the internet on some Canadian TV. They won't let me because obviously the rights issues and stuff like that.
Yep. What else? Oh, we were talking about Chrome OS earlier and Chrome boxes and stuff. Chrome OS was updated. Ooh, bless you. To support, or is going to be updated to support offline TV and movies from the Google Play Store, which is a pretty good deal. Bless you again. A pretty big deal for people who want to use Chrome OS. You'll be able to access that stuff when if you don't have an internet connection. Again, with this sneezing. It's pretty rough, man. Good stuff.
Sorry, my wife was having an allergy attack.
Oh, it's that time of year for it, man. I stay pumped on the allergy meds. I have to. T-Mobile. This is pretty cool too. They did this last year too. Is offering the MLB at Bat 14 for the 2014 baseball season. If you're a T-Mobile customer, you can get that for free.
That's a great little throw-in. So that stuff can be quite pricey.
Yeah, I never used it last year, even though I watch the Tigers all the time.
Yep. And I think it's what, $20 annually?
Yeah.
Or $3
Like
a
with
month.
this one, you don't get to watch all the games for free. This one lets you get like the game of the day for free, and some other stuff like that. There's like 2 different plans besides the free one. But if you want everything, I think it's like $75 for the whole season.
That's pretty good, because I'll tell you the NHL one I think is you can do a tablet or your computer or smartphone, and it's about $160 for the year.
Yeah, the NHL app is one of the most expensive. So
greedy hockey players.
Which is funny because hockey players are some of the most underpaid. When you compare to
Other sports, yeah.
Baseball or football or
And
NFL
you
or
would thi-
NBA or MLB.
And they're
and
like
the
the
least
only sport,
popular.
and they're like the only sport that doesn't have a carrier sponsor. NBA has Sprint, NFL has
Well,
Verizon.
they have a little bit of a contract with Verizon, but I mean, it's probably the less popular of the major sports. You would think that they would want to bring the price down a little bit to attract more users, but
Right.
I don't think they care.
they signed like $20 billion deal with NBC just recently, so what do they care?
Right. Yep. Yeah. Well, I was excited to see that NBC deal. Have a hockey night in America, so. But yeah, that's pretty much what we had on the agenda for today. Chris, I'm glad you jumped on. Just talk a little bit about that tablet. So you're finding that carrying that thing around is just a little too big?
Little too big for me. A little too big. I mean, it's nice if you're sitting down. Otherwise, it's not something you want to be running around with. And kind of my quest out of it is, I have a 10-inch Nexus because a 7 is too small for me. So, a 10 I kind of figure was perfect, and I figure I'll try the 12.2 because, more screen real estate. Who doesn't like that? But the bezel's just too big, and there's a little too much weight for it. I don't think that this is going to be like kind of like that people aren't going to buy it. I think people are going to buy it, but I think the next year's version, maybe a slimmer, lighter version, will be something that I would probably hold off on because it does feel pretty heavy, and that's definitely something that they gotta work on for sure, because it's just too much weight. It feels like the old gingerbread tablets back in the day. The 5-pound bricks, and I just can't see, in the day of light tablets that people want to be carrying around a heavy tablet anymore.
That's kind of what what my impression of it was. Even when they were first announced that the 12.2-inch screen was going to be just a little bit too big.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the screen wise, like it's right close to 10. It's just if they thin those bezels down, like size wise, it would be nice. But the weight is something that they got to work on too, because beside the size, the weight really plays a factor in it.
Yeah.
Well, they have to put a big battery in there, or it's gonna die like in an hour or two.
Right, for that
True that.
screen.
And that's probably where, between that and the screen, that's probably where all the weight comes from.
Yeah.
And it does have a beautiful display. There's no doubt about it that the display is beautiful. I mean, it's just like any of the really nice Samsung tablets with beautiful display, but obviously larger.
It's the same as the Nexus 10s. It's just bigger, so the PPI is a little bit lower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with the Tab Pro 8.4. That one's gonna have a higher PPI though, which is gonna be just insane.
So let me throw a couple of questions at you guys. I haven't been on on the show, so I'll turn it around and I'll interview you guys here, and want to know what you guys think of the new HTC One Prime rumors and the Galaxy Premier, whatever the hell they want to call it, another Prime version or whatever the name is that they want to call it. What do you think about that? You think it's going to make people upset? You think they're going to be pissed off because they went out and bought these devices already? Or do you think they're going to change them up enough so they don't look the same? What are your guys' feelings on them?
I still think it's part of Android Silver. It's their premium stuff.
Yeah, we kind of led off with some of the Android Silver rumors, which just sounds like the next kind of step in the Nexus program. They're just changing the name. And Alex had a really good point that these Prime devices might just be the GPE versions of these premier devices for Android Silver. And I thought that made a lot of sense because, Chris, like you said, it's going to piss a lot of people off if they just bought a flagship and then a couple months later, or even towards the end of the year, the same device or a similar device with higher specs comes out. We haven't, manufacturers have kind of gotten away from that in the last year or two,
Mm-hmm.
kicking out a new flagship every 6 months, and consumers have gotten used to once a year big upgrades. So I think that makes a lot of sense to have that as a GPE type device for Android Silver.
It does make a lot of sense, and just in coincident, the Galaxy S5 Prime and HTC One Prime, they're both named the same thing. Maybe not, but maybe that's part, right?
That's where I got that from, and the specs are exactly the same.
Yeah. The only thing is, do you think they're ready to kill the Nexus program off that quick, or do you think they're going to introduce Prime while there's still one more Nexus out there?
What we said earlier is we think there's going to be Nexus and GPE together, so you'll still have like your developer reference device, aka the Nexus, and then you'll have your like your premium stuff like the M8 Prime, the S5 Prime, probably a Prime from all the other manufacturers too, because we already have GPEs from them.
The Prime, or Silver program, it's kind of something where, I think it could be great. It'd be nice to see more devices and stuff like that, but I was not too big of a fan of basically taking a stock device, putting stock Android on it, and then dropping it on the Play Store for $700. It's not like it, kind of took away the specialness of the phone. If I really want stock Android on the phone, I'll root and ROM and be on my way, and I won't need a Google edition. So I think if they bring some premium designs that are only available via the Play Store, a different looking Galaxy S5 with beefed up specs, and stock Android, that's a great way to sell them.
Well, Android Silver is supposed to be in the carrier stores and Best Buy and everything like that, so it'll probably be on contract too.
Yeah, and that's a great way to sell them. What I could be worried about though is the pricing, because they're not going to want to undercut their own devices. So you could look for these to be premium priced. Obviously, if they're going to use premium materials, they're going to be looking to, get you for a full price or even more for these type of devices. Even though maybe their devices will have come down in price by then, and this will just be another way of, selling or getting rid of, extra parts. But they're still going to have, better components in them that got to be paid, and they don't want to, lose sales of their plain HTC One device, out to it. So I think people could end up paying more, and are we going to end up paying $700-800 for these Prime devices?
I don't think so. We're seeing like the OnePlus One come out with crazy high-end specs for $400. So I think that the Nexus program, also being the developer phones for Google, served its purpose in showing consumers that you can get a good phone for $400. You don't have to spend $600 or $650, and that cost is going to continue to be driven down as long as companies keep, like OnePlus or Xiaomi, Huawei, whoever else comes out with these higher end phones for $400 or $500, so we won't have to spend $700-800 for them.
Well, I think you're going to have a hard time convincing Samsung that they need to drop the price of their phone in order, and make a premium device that's better than their current flagship and charge less for it. And I'm sure the stockholders and the share prices would probably be a little upset about that. So I mean, I understand where you're coming. Sometimes I don't understand the Android Silver program unless they're going to jack up the prices, which totally goes against what the Nexus program was about. Because there's no way that these guys are going to want to start making cheaper devices unless they make specifically devices that they're going to sell cheaper. But I don't see it being a premium device then,
Yeah, you got to kind of think about it from Google's perspective. They're not a hardware company. They're not concerned with the cost of a device. Now, if they're focusing on premium devices, yes, you're going to pay a little more premium price if they're carried in U.S. wireless carrier stores, if that's where they're sold, they're going to be on contract. So you're going to spend $199 for them, just like you did with the Moto X or the M8 or the S5 or whatever.
But there will be no more $399 outright phones anymore for these. There's no way that Samsung or HTC is going to sign up to sell their phones at $399, unless of course they're Motorola, different story. But they're already going down that lower priced handset road, which is a total different ball game. And I mean, it's actually becoming a huge issue, and it's funny that this Android Silver kind of comes up where they're talking about these guys selling these devices online, going with a Google program, and in store and carriers and stuff. But at the same time, you're starting to see a lot of these handset prices start to drop. And even Samsung's gone on the record as of late that they're concerned with a lot of these Chinese makers, companies like OnePlus and what do you call them, Xiaomi or Xiaomi, because they're making devices dirt cheap, and they're making quality devices, and they're gaining a lot of popularity, and they're thinking this is where the new emerging competition is going to start to come from, are these smaller device makers who don't have to make 1 million of these devices all at once. They can run off 50,000 of them, versus Samsung that has to create millions of them. So their overheads lost a lot less because they don't have to have as much as in materials. They basically, if you order a phone, they can fire up the presses and make one. Maybe not exactly like that, but these low-priced devices are definitely the wave of the future, and it's just kind of interesting to see how the Silver program is going to come in. If they're going to try and maybe cater to the high-end enthusiasts, like us and our followers and our readers, the guys who want that premium flagship with, excellent warranty and support and care and stuff like that, or are they, going to go after kind of the budget Nexus owners that first got attracted to the Nexus program? So
I think the Nexus, some kind of developer device, Alex said it earlier, there's always going to be some kind of Nexus or developer type phone for Google. They want devs to have a phone they can use to build apps. They want their employees to have access to a phone that they can develop with and develop on. But my just kind of feeling and seeing what Google has been focused on over the last 12 months maybe is really bringing the stock Android experience to consumers and not just enthusiasts who purchase phones on the Play Store. So if Android Silver devices are going to be in retail locations, this focus is on mass consumers. It's not on developers who want a Nexus device for $400, and it's not on high-end enthusiasts who are going to spend $800 on a device either. It's kind of focused more on your average consumer.
So a lot of people think that this is the end of the Nexus program because of it, and it might not necessarily be that way.
No.
Because the Nexus program is kind of like you said, it's about a great device for developers. Kind of it's not a top of the line premium device, near close, but it's kind of a budget affordable developer testing device, a little bit of a benchmarking device in terms of style and stuff, and the latest version of the OS to roll out to. So definitely we could still see the both of them. I'm not sure exactly where everyone got the idea that the Nexus program was going to be killed off, and I just think that maybe people assumed or jumped the gun. But even if it turns out maybe these developer editions or one company they start partnering up with, like LG or Moto, to make their Nexus devices only in the future, that could happen.
Yeah, and the Nexus line being completely killed off just doesn't make sense. But it being kind of morphed and changed into something new, and then given a new name, because Google can build hype around a new name. If they had taken everything that we're hearing about Android Silver and just kept the Nexus name and done all the stuff that we're hearing about, but still called it Nexus, it would make sense. It's just the brand, the naming, you know, that it's just evolving. But if they put a new name on it, then it's a headline. Then it's, oh, this is a great new thing that we're doing. So
it's definitely good for marketing. Yeah, for sure.
They can just hype it up more if they change the name, as well as do these other things.
Now, do you guys think it's coming this soon? I think it seems like it would
next
be
year.
Really. It would be too soon for Google I/O. We would have seen through the grapevine and the leaks. We would see a lot more tidbits, news, and stuff like that just coming out. There would be way more information.
It seems like Google does like their big Android announcements like in the fall. So I'm guessing maybe this fall, but probably next year.
So that goes, and you're right.
Because like even at I/O last year, they didn't really announce anything that was just for Android. I mean, you had Google Play Games, Google Play Music All Access, but that was Android. But well, at the time, Google Play Games was still Android, but it's iOS 2 now. But Android 4.3 was like a month later, or yeah, I think it was like a month later at the Breakfast with Sundar event with Chromecast, which nobody saw coming.
Yeah.
So that brings me back full circle to the Prime devices. Right? If you say that, maybe Prime has nothing to do with Silver though. These
it's just
maybe
weird.
It's just another way for HTC and Samsung to sell some more devices in the fall when because face it, your S4 by the time the fall rolled around, no one gave a crap about buying that, or they were trying to release new colors to increase buzz or something like that, which doesn't work. But a premium version comes out, that's going to kick the sales back up for Christmas time in Q4, right?
Well, what are they really going to change on a premium? Like, you're going to step it up to a 2K display from a 1080p display? You're going to
change that processor
to the camera, bump the processor up just a little bit.
The MA Prime is supposed to have that 2K display, 5, 18 megapixel camera.
I tell you what, Jeremiah, all they got to do is put a nice aluminum fancy case on it, and that's Prime for them. They could keep the same stock, the same components in it, put a premium case on it, and people will buy it.
Samsung?
Yeah, Samsung could with the S5.
Yeah. They don't even have to do that. They just have to put it out, say it's the S6.
ACC would just have to put a real camera on the phone.
18 megapixel is the rumor.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I was just kidding on that.
No, that's actually, it's funny you mentioned that because we talked about that earlier. We'll probably see them move away from the 4 megapixel ultra pixel camera or whatever.
The gimmick camera, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be fun. It'll be fun thing to talk about, between I/O Silver program and these Prime and premium devices. It'll at least keep us on the toes for the summer.
Yeah, it will. It's going to make for some good conversation. So
one quick question for you guys also: is it now we talked about the Motorola event that's coming out? What is it, next week or week after?
Next week.
Are we seeing the Moto E economy, or are we seeing the Moto X Plus, which means expensive? Which one are we seeing?
No, it's the Moto E because the tagline on the invite, it says something about affordable for all, and Moto X isn't affordable for all, especially if they're going to India to announce it.
But they also seen someone had hacked the site there and saw a placeholder for the X Plus page.
It
doesn't mean
coming,
that.
Just not next week. I mean, they're not going to announce the X Plus One in India, especially with the tagline of affordable for everyone.
And I'll tell you why. Also, they'd be doing a lot more hype.
Mm-hmm. Remember last year? Last year we had like a year full of rumors and leaks and stuff for that Moto X, and I think it was overhyped.
And X Plus, we're going to see a lot more hype as well too. The marketing machine will be fully turning.
Especially since they're still technically Google owned right now because the deal hasn't been approved yet.
Yeah. Business as usual until that approval happens. So.
Yep.
Um,
And it's definitely not the Moto 360
no. No.
because that's not going to be affordable for all either.
Can I say? And I'd like to say one final thing. I don't know where you're at with the show, Jeremiah, but I think me and the 157 million Android users all very happy that the Samsung Apple lawsuit is now fucking over.
I wouldn't say it's over.
Well,
It's over for now.
Yeah.
I even think the courts are tired of it already. The last time,
I'm sure.
what, I think, what was the judgment? It was $119 million.
Yep.
I'm going to have a hard time seeing that by the time they pay their lawyer fees, how much money actually Apple made out of that lawsuit the second time around. It's probably, 20 million, something like that. I mean, which is still, a lot of money, but at the end of the day, it's not helping anymore.
Wasn't Apple paying somebody like $1,000 an hour or something? Or is it $500 an hour?
It was more than that. It was some stupid numbers. There was like a guy who was up there, $1,500 an hour. There was a guy $15,000 a day. Another guy $25,000 a day. $100,000 a day.
I'll work for that.
Yeah, me too. I will testify.
I'll go work for Apple for that much.
I'll testify against Samsung for that.
You could go use Samsung devices while you're testifying.
That's right.
Yep.
I'll tell them, yeah, this looks like a fucking iPhone.
Yeah. I won't mind when this is all done, man. That's for sure. But Chris, we're just getting ready to wrap up. I was going to see what is kind of new in your Android world, and we know what's new with yours. You got that 12.2-inch tablet and the S5 you're playing with.
Note 3, keep him busy. We got new. Actually, speaking of new Android stuff in my world, we got a refresh of our site coming out soon. Very soon.
Oh, it's official announced on the podcast. We haven't heard any official word on that yet. So.
Yeah, this is kind of like a little sneak peek, but we're gonna be flipping the switch on that in the coming up weeks, and it's gonna look really hot. All the latest technology that the internet has to offer in web design, and mobile design as well too. Lots of goodies and really sweet looking design coming. So stay tuned. In the next couple of weeks we'll be getting a redesigned and some new swag for our hosts are coming shortly too as well. So looking at a new, cleaner, lean design AH coming soon to you all.
That's what's up. We can't wait, man.
Yeah,
Super excited.
I've seen the new website and it looks amazing. I can't wait for it to go live.
Awesome. What about you, Alex? What's new, man?
Well, I have the Fire TV over there, which I actually really like it. Only issue I've seen with it, I don't know if it was because Comcast was acting up the other night or not, is that when I was watching stuff on Hulu Plus and Netflix, it was like buffering a little bit, like every couple minutes it would buffer for a few seconds. But when I was watching stuff on Amazon Prime and video, it was perfect. I don't know if it was something with Comcast because it was running slow that night. I was only getting like 7 or 8 megs instead of 30. But other than that, I haven't done any gaming on it yet because I just got it like 2-3 days ago. I gotta see because I heard any Bluetooth gaming controller will work with it, but I gotta test that out and be sure because they didn't send me one with my review in it.
By any chance, Alex, can you actually plug that to your PC and stream media off your PC off it?
If you have an HDMI on your monitor.
So you'd need a really long HDMI to make it to your TV or something, right?
Well,
not really.
He's saying you could plug it into. Alex is saying you could plug the Fire TV into your computer monitor. But Chris, are you asking if you can run
At the
plug the
same
Fire
time?
TV into
Yeah, like a media player
computer tower.
type of thing. Yeah.
It only has a HDMI on the back, so I don't think you can plug it into like your computer that way. Only a monitor.
What did you think? Do you think it show up on the network? Like, is there an option where it can see network and stuff like that? Could use it like a NAS type.
I don't think it can.
It does work really well with Plex, and I
Okay.
believe comes pre-installed with Plex, so you can use that.
That answers my question.
As
Yeah, it doesn't actually show up on my network. I just checked. But I haven't installed a whole lot of apps. Hulu Plus,
Does-
Netflix, Watch
I figured if it could see my network, then I could play, videos that I have on my hard drive off my PC if I was.
Yeah, you can use Plex for that.
Yep.
That's what I use Chromecast for.
And apparently,
Um,
the Fire TV runs Plex way better than
Yeah,
Chromecast does.
I haven't actually used it yet. I didn't even see it in like their little app store thing. It was really easy to set up too. I mean, because they send it to you with like already logged into your Amazon account. So
That's
all
cool.
you really have to do is just sign into your Wi-Fi and you're all set. It has Ethernet on the back.
What happens if you sell that thing?
Sign out or do factory reset.
Okay.
Because I did that with the Kindle Fire because it came logged in as well. The Fire
nice.
HDX.
Okay.
So I just did a reset to make sure, and it logged me out of everything. It's not like Glass where you can't resell it.
Right.
It's a really small box. It's a lot smaller than the Note Pro 12.12 or 12.2. It's probably lighter too,
Oh,
Wait.
sure.
but you're probably not gonna carry that around.
No.
The controller is pretty nice actually. Nicer than the Roku's controller, I'd say. It's got like that soft touch plastic like you see on the Nexus 5. Except for the front where the IR blaster is. But I really like it. I'm really thinking about buying one after I return my review in a couple weeks.
It was nice that they added other content channels in there. Where nowadays you get some guys who are like, oh, don't put Hulu or Netflix or something on there. We want to sell Amazon Prime content only. Type of
Well, I
thing.
think if Amazon had done just Amazon Prime stuff, then it probably wouldn't sell that well.
Yeah, it would be well, you say that, but then you look at the Fire and the Fire.
Yeah. Well, that also has
I mean,
pretty much all the Android apps. It's just no Google services, which is the only reason why I won't buy one.
Good deal. All
I also
right.
got some S5 cases over here. Got the Highland Ultra Thin Premium Folio for the S5. And then I got two of these Rival textured impact resistant cases. One's black and one is blue, which the review, I wrote it today. It should be going out pretty soon.
Nice.
And I rated my G2 this weekend, finally. And put a deep loaded stock RAM on there, and battery life got even better.
How is that possible?
I don't know. I got 8.5 hours of screen time on Sunday, which is about what I got on the G Flex.
What?
So
It's crazy.
yeah, there you go. It took forever to root that thing. So I wrote up a tutorial on the site and I put it out, I think, Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon. So if anybody, it's for the T-Mobile version because that one, it's not rootable on KitKat. You have to downgrade, root it, then flash a KitKat around, then flash twerp again and all that good stuff. It was so confusing. It took me forever.
Wow.
All the other ones can be rooted, even the Verizon one, which is surprising.
I'm glad you got it figured out, man.
Yeah, I'm using the that G2 camera mod too. That's basically the G Pro 2 camera. Man, that thing is amazing. And low light, it like blows away the M8, and that's supposed to be why they put an ultra pixel camera in there.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Holy crap.
4K video, 1080p at 60 frames, 720p at 120 frames.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Those LG's
It's got
got
the
cameras set up.
oh yeah, and they didn't even go as far as they could with it, like software-wise, because this is just from a couple of developers that took out the like app from the G Pro 2 and modded it for the G2 and Man, it's so good.
That is awesome.
That's about it for me, though.
The only thing new I'm playing with, you guys got me beat this week. This MPOW wireless Bluetooth headset is actually pretty decent. I reviewed a Bluetooth, just a regular Bluetooth headset from MPOW a couple weeks ago, and then they sent me an email and said, "Hey, we've got this stereo headset to try out." I think it's only like $40 on Amazon.
Pretty decent.
Not bad.
Yeah, the price is good, and they sound pretty good. My kids have been running around with them. I don't let them use my other headsets because they're all wired, and they'll end up just ripping them out of whatever it's plugged into. But these wireless ones, I can just put them on their head and let them run around.
Yeah.
So it's been fun, and they sound pretty good. So I'll have that review up soon.
And priced right to let the kids wear them.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
it's $40 if they break them. Whatever. Just pick up a new set.
Because all the other Bluetooth headsets I've gotten are like 150 plus. Except for I think these other earbuds that I have that I still haven't even opened. Those are like 45, 50.
Yeah. No, it's really not bad, and they sound pretty good. So, but I think that's going to do it. That's going to wrap up the Android Headline Show for this week. This is what I say, episode 58.
Yep.
So you can find us at AndroidHeadlines.com, obviously, on Twitter at Android Headline without the S, Google Plus, Facebook. We're all over the place, bringing you the latest Android headlines, Android news and rumors, and the podcast too.
And everything, and podcasts,
Yep.
top 10s and apps and commentary. We got it all.
Whatever you need.
Reviews. And whatever you don't have that you want, just let us know and we'll make it.
Yeah, for sure. If there's something you want to hear about or something you want us to talk about, drop us a line on YouTube or on the website. Send us an email. Let us know. That's why we do this. It's fun. We want to make sure we're talking about stuff that's important to you guys. So.
And if you head over to the site, all our emails are there on our About page.
Yep. Just pull up the About page and check us out. So.
And if you want a free phone, just email Alex. He'll send you one.
You mean Tom?
Oh, has Tom got the free phones this month?
Yeah, Tom.
You just have to pay for the. You just have to pay for the international shipping.
Which might cost more than the phone.
Exactly.
Well, awesome. Chris, thanks for jumping on tonight. Definitely
Very welcome.
good seeing you, man.
You as well.
Alex, it's a pleasure. You guys have a great night, okay?
You too.
Thanks, guys.